There's a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. This is just like driving on I-5 with a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. It's straight line driving. You got to drive in the uppermost portion of the hard packed sand, and you cannot do donuts or circles in the sand.
And then you buried a bunch of them again. Where'd you bury them, sir?
I'm done talking.
All right, give me your license.
Washingtonians love razor clams. As thousands descend on Washington beaches to dig into the shoreline and find their shellfish of choice, a state agency keeps a watchful eye. For this field report, we rode along with a police officer who practices razor clam enforcement. It's safe to say that Washingtonians love razor clams. As we told you in a previous field report, around 350,000 Washingtonians dug into the coastline of the Evergreen State in 2018 in hopes of tracking down the highly sought-after shellfish. According to Captain Chadwick of the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife Police, finding and enjoying razor clams in Washington means being willing to follow razor clam regulations.
This fishery is a sport fishery. It's a recreational fishery, and we want to make sure we keep it a recreational fishery. We want to see the families come out with their kids, but we don't want to see families digging their kids' limits.
The limit Chadwick spoke about is the amount of clams allowed under state law. According to the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife website, under state law, diggers at open beaches can take 15 razor clams per day and are required to keep the first 15 they dig. Each digger's clams must be kept in a separate container. The number of clams gathered is just part of what Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife Police like Captain Chadwick are looking for as they enforce razor clam digging regulations on Washington beaches.
What we're looking for with our diggers are making sure, one, that they take the first 15 razor clams that they dig. A lot of times, good diggers will look for the biggest clams, and they'll go down and do what we call tickling clams, if you will. They'll check the size by going down. They'll shovel dig those clams. They'll reach down, they'll feel the size of them, and they'll leave them. And we don't know if that clam was broke in the process of digging, or if the clam was fine, or a lot of times there's a slurry that happens there and the clam won't get set back and it'll die. And our officers will go back down to that hole, reach down in, and oftentimes pull out that clam because it's just sitting in a slurry.
Captain Chadwick also told TVW about instances in which razor clam diggers attempt to deceive their way towards bagging more clams.
15 clams is your limit, and we have watched folks go down, dig a limit of clams, come to their vehicle, and go right back down and dig another limit of clams. Or the extreme is they'll come off the beach, get in their vehicle, drive off the beach, go home, change vehicles, change clothes, and come back and dig another limit of clams. And our officers are trained to find that. We've had many cases over the years of catching folks doing that, and they'll go visit the judge for it.
7, 10, that looks exactly like 15.
Whether offenders visit the judge is up to the work of the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife Police as they patrol the coasts during razor clam season. In order to provide an up-close look at razor clam enforcement, TVW rode along with Officer Todd Dielman.
Right now what we're going to do is we're going to cruise down the beach, pick out a spot, and start making some observations on people and see how digging is. Digging's been really, really good. So I would expect that most of these people are going to have their limits fairly quick.
As clam diggers approached their limits, Officer Dielman told TVW about what sets the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife Police apart from traditional law enforcement.
You know, the one thing though about Fish and Wildlife Police, it's different from a lot of law enforcement agencies, is 99.9% of the people we deal with are good people. They're out enjoying themselves, having a good time. They're not criminals. You know, a lot of other law enforcement agencies, when they're responding to a call, they're responding to a situation where people are oftentimes having a very, very, very bad day. Most of these people out here, the vast majority of them out here are out here. They're having a great time doing something they love to do, and so it's a little different working environment than a lot of law enforcement. And you know, to be honest, when you come up and just randomly contact these people, most of them are pretty happy to see you. They're glad you're out here, and they're glad you're working it.
Had some escapees.
I had some escapees.
Certainly, almost 100% of the people Officer Dealman spoke with during the ride-along with TVW were happy to see him.
3-day razor clam. You're not going to clam the rest of the year. Come on, it's like this is good. There's right. Look, for an extra $6, you could have got the annual. $6.
Down at the Hunter Inn for lunch.
As Officer Dealman set up his truck out of plain sight and used a scope to view the razor clam digging public, he told TVW what he looks for in potential razor clam limit offenders.
I'm just kind of scanning the beach looking for people, and one thing that I like to look for is people like moving and walking with a purpose. If you're scanning the beach and you're seeing people kind of having fun and running around and recreating, that's pretty normal. When you watch those people moving with a purpose, a lot of times those are the ones that are going to go over their limit, because it's more about the harvest, it's more about getting the clams as opposed to just recreating.
Right over there.
At one point, Dealman did issue a citation to a man believed to have violated razor clam law.
Count my clams.
No, because I know you counted them, and then you buried a bunch of them again. Where'd you bury them, sir?
I'm done talking.
All right, give me your license.
Even following the interaction that resulted in the citation, Officer Dealman told TVW why he's happy as ever to be part of the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife Police.
You know, I'm an avid outdoorsman. Before I did this, I was a fishing guide for, almost 15 years. And there's two things. I like working with people, and I love the outdoors, and this job provides both of that.
Thanks again for watching, and until next time, this has been Field Report.